This is a manhunt game where the pursuit is constant. 10 British citizens will turn into fugitives, evading capture. The rules require them to remain on the run for 28 days without stopping. If they succeed in evading capture for the full duration, they win a prize of £100,000, a substantial amount that can fulfill dreams for an average person. 6 teams, totaling 10 individuals, began their escape half an hour ago. The capture center in London has received the information and has officially started the pursuit. Let's look into the backgrounds of these 6 teams. First up, we have a formidable duo of retired military personnel, Kirk and Jamie. Both have undergone security and counter-terrorism training and are very confident about this game. The hunters are particularly keen on capturing such skilled fugitives early on. Surveillance last spotted Kirk and Jamie getting into a Volkswagen registered to someone named Jones. Both Kirk and Jamie are disabled. Kirk was seriously injured in a car explosion in Iraq in 2013, losing his left forearm, while Jamie lost his right lower leg in a motorcycle accident. The driver, Jones, also has a disability in his left arm. Kirk and Jamie have fled to a secret rural villa, assisted by Simon, a retired Special Forces operative. They plan to evade capture with the help of local veterans, supporting each other as if in battle. The team eventually found the driver, Jones, not to interrogate him, but to deliberately delay as they installed tracking and listening devices in his car. The second team consists of elderly partners, Hamish and Michaela, who are not married but had a romantic relationship in college. The third team, sisters Anna and Eliza, are sporty, tough girls who love hiking. Anna has climbed mountains barefoot 3 times. Their escape strategy is to travel randomly, hitchhiking during the day, and camping outdoors at night. The fourth team is a solo challenger, Rona, a woman in her 30s, unmarried, living a monotonous life of daily work routines. The fifth team, brothers Matter and Io, made withdrawing money their first act of escape. Each team of fugitives has a bank account with £250, but can only withdraw £100 at a time, which the hunters can track, making their initial withdrawal a strategic move. All 5 teams quickly fled to the farthest possible areas. However, unlike other teams who quickly fled by car, the 6th team's single challenger, Nick, chose to escape by bicycle. Nick, a 50-year-old full-time homemaker, mainly cares for his autistic son, a commitment of 17 years. His cycling plan was indeed risky. The capture team, monitoring the situation, saw Nick riding along a canal path. The hunters drove there and were closing in quickly. To disguise himself, Nick wore a bright yellow jacket, which made him even more conspicuous. This attire was captured by surveillance. The hunters reached the canal where Nick was in danger. However, Nick took a wrong turn and left the canal side, luckily avoiding capture. After escaping, Nick even asked passersby for directions back to the canal, intending to return there. Believing Nick would not foolishly come back, the hunters retreated. On the first day, no fugitives were captured. They all thought they were clever enough to outsmart the hunters. On the second day, the hunters focused on the team of retired military personnel. They sent ground personnel to Kirk's home, where Kirk has an 8-year-old daughter and a nearly 1-year-old son. The little girl, unaware of the purpose of the 2 women's visit, mentioned that the next day was her brother's first birthday. This information was crucial. The capture personnel took Kirk's iPad, computer, and phone. If Kirk contacted his family, he could expose himself. Kirk had planned to meet his family before fleeing. His wife would drive their son for a birthday meetup. Kirk wore a disguise and reached the meeting point nearby, while Jamie observed from a high position. The capture team planned to secretly install a tracker on Kirk's wife's car before she left, but by the time they arrived, she had already left, missing an excellent opportunity to capture. Kirk successfully met his wife and child, and while he wished his son a happy birthday, the capture team had already cracked his computer and iPad. The computer contained a lot of information, and the iPad had many chat logs not deleted. Kirk had only deleted the chat logs on his phone, forgetting the iPad. Jamie's email was also hacked, revealing multiple mentions of a person named David living in Blackpool, likely their escape destination, which was indeed the case. Kirk and Jamie are riding with their friend's wife, Karen, to Blackpool. Jamie uses Karen's phone to call David, who is at work, so they decide to wait nearby. The capture team monitors this call and tracks Karen. Her phone reveals their location. Soon, the hunters use the phone's location to find Karen lingering at a shopping center, where Kirk and Jamie are waiting for David. They plan to eat there. The capture team pinpoints the restaurant and positions ground personnel. To avoid causing panic, they confirm the fugitives are inside, then wait outside. Kirk and Jamie, noticing someone watching, quickly ask the restaurant manager for a back door and escape through it. The restaurant's complex location in the shopping center helps them evade. They exit into the back of the mall. Knowing they'd be quickly caught outside, they escape in a black van provided by the owner. The capture team, lacking a vehicle, watches as their targets escape. A major oversight. Particularly frustrating is losing the retired military team, the strongest group. They only manage to note the van's license plate. Meanwhile, Kirk and Jamie get off at a park, narrowly escaping, heightening the team's alertness. Back to Nick, he wears bright clothes and hides in the forest on his bike, not drawing much attention from the capture team. This low profile helps him blend in. The sister team, Anna and Eliza, continuously move by hitchhiking. Old friends Hamish and Michaela, not a couple but former college sweethearts, are also in the race. Michaela, a mother of 4, plans to use her alumni connections to aid their escape. After losing Kirk and Jamie, the ground team returns to look for Karen's car, which should still be parked nearby. Karen's husband is a disabled veteran. He is a good friend of Kirk and Jamie. Since Karen's phone had been turned off earlier, the hunters could not locate her. Kirk and Jamie are hiding at the home of Karen's friend Michelle, a few miles north of Blackpool. They plan to rest there for the night. Karen carelessly made a phone call when she arrived to find Michelle. This call alerted the hunters to Michelle, and they were able to confirm her address. They immediately notified 2 ground capture teams to proceed there. One group of hunters has already arrived and is waiting for the other group to join them for the capture. The events of the afternoon still have Kirk feeling anxious. They cannot stay. They must leave as soon as possible. Karen is driving them. As soon as they leave, the first group of hunters immediately follows them in their car and alerts the other group to prepare for interception. The capture zone tightens to a short stretch of road. The hunters catch up in their cars, roll down their windows, and call for the fugitives to surrender, determined not to let them escape this time. Soon, both are caught without a chance to struggle further. The team captures the first group of fugitives, retired veterans, on day 8. Capturing these challenging fugitives boosts the morale of the team. 8 fugitives still remain, and the situation is critical. Sometimes the most difficult opponents are not the strongest, but those who are unpredictable and weaker. Now the capture team is not playing games with the fugitives anymore. They start a public manhunt by posting their pictures on major media platforms. This step puts great pressure on the fugitives, who are not really desperados. Turning to Anna and Eliza, they are now in a company garage in Cornwall, waiting for a ride to Scotland. Upon learning they are wanted, the 2 women are even more eager to head further north. A kind person, Catherine, agrees to drive them to Dundee, the 4th largest city in Scotland. Just after they leave, the capture team receives a call from a garage employee who reveals that his colleague is taking the sisters to Dundee and also shares his colleague's name and phone number. Fortunately, another warehouse worker learns about the phone call and immediately warns Catherine. With no other option, the sisters get off the car at the edge of Cairngorms National Park. Dundee is no longer safe. They decide to hide in the countryside first. Betrayed once, both are now fearful that Catherine might also betray them. The capture team is bound to contact Catherine. However, Catherine assures them she will not inform on them. The capture personnel are straightforward and offer £500 for information about the sisters. Catherine does not refuse and discloses where the sisters got off the car. The sisters know they cannot trust anyone and keep asking strangers for a ride, but no one is willing to help them leave the area. The hunters are speeding up their approach just as Anna and Eliza are breaking down. Fortunately, a kind person finally appears, driving the sisters away quickly. The capture team misses their chance, and Anna and Eliza vanish without a trace. On the other hand, the Hamish and Michaela team is under psychological analysis. It is believed that Michaela's extroverted and sociable nature, which tends to attract attention, could be key for the hunters to capture them. During the day, Hamish and Michaela are having a great time, oblivious to the fact they are wanted and relaxing as if on vacation. At night, they go to a bar, drinking and laughing carelessly, which draws the attention of the bar staff. Soon, the bar staff calls the capture team, who send agents to the vicinity of the bar. The next morning, as Hamish and Michaela are about to leave, they are surrounded by capture personnel. Michaela refuses to get out of the car, so the capture team deflates the tires. Eventually, Michaela makes a futile attempt to escape by jumping into a river. Both are eventually captured. Hamish and Michaela become the second team to be eliminated, their downfall due to arrogance and leaving too many clues, unlike 4 other teams who remain low-key. The capture team is frustrated, waiting for them to make mistakes. Turning to Nick, from day 1, he has been camping in rural areas, keeping a very low profile. The capture team underestimates Nick, thinking a full-time stay-at-home dad couldn't survive long outdoors. However, Nick is stronger than they think and sees this as a chance to prove himself. For added security, he sends a bank card to his old classmate Paul, asking him to deposit money. After scrutinizing Nick's social media, the capture team finds only 3 contacts, 2 of whom are friends of Nick's wife, and Paul, whom Nick hasn't seen since graduation. This surprises the investigators and leads them to dismiss further investigation, though they decide to monitor Paul's phone to prevent any information concealment. Meanwhile, let's look at Rona, a solo contestant who has been staying with various friends. She is currently hiding comfortably in rural Norfolk, and the capture team has yet to catch up. Rona's social media accounts have been thoroughly examined by the capture team 3 or 4 times. Rona, nearly 40, without a steady job or a boyfriend, relies on a few close friends. Among them, Emily, who drove Rona the first leg, is brought in by the capture team for interrogation, and her phone is confiscated. On the way to headquarters, Emily received a text message. Her friend Sarah suggested, "Let's have lunch together at noon." The capture team, pretending to be Emily, replied, "Can you send me Rona's latest phone number?" Sarah, being cautious, did not send it but mentioned an SJG and added delete after reading. Soon, the capture team discovered that SJG was an abbreviation for Sophia, a friend of Rona's. At this time, Rona, running out of money, was writing to Sophia for help, unaware that Sophia was under surveillance. The capture team had the authority to intercept the letter before Sophia received it to check its contents. Turning to Nick, his money was nearly spent, and it was time to get some from Paul. Nick hitched a ride and used the driver's phone to call Paul. The capture team, monitoring Paul, noticed a suspicious call from an unknown number and suspected it was Nick. They finally had a lead on Nick's location. Soon, Nick met Paul, who handed him a bank card with money in the car. Cleverly, Paul also took photos of the capture team's vehicles and faces, all while in the moving car. After the transaction, Nick got out and continued his escape. The capture team, though not empty-handed, used location data and local surveillance to spot Nick with a backpack, confirming he was on foot, and organized a comprehensive search. They deployed drones and sent out dogs to track Nick's scent, assuming he couldn't get far on foot. Fortunately, a farm worker Nick encountered was willing to help him escape. This timely appearance allowed Nick to evade capture once more. Nick proved to be an excellent evader, with a successful strategy so far. Meanwhile, the sibling duo, Madhur and Ayo, were boldly taunting the capture team by tweeting a picture at them, though the photo didn't divulge any actionable information. Madhur has always been vigilant. He met Ayo in a library, and both come from poor backgrounds. The main issue with Madhur and Ayo is that they tend to argue frequently, which is normal given their differing personalities. Madhur is reserved, whereas Ayo is flamboyant. Psychological experts believe their arguments might lead them to make mistakes. Just then, Ayo was about to call a contact. They had agreed to meet within 2 hours. Madhur, worried about revealing their location, strongly discouraged Ayo from making the call. The two almost came to blows over this. Meanwhile, the capture team had intercepted the letter Rona wrote to Sophia. It contained crucial information. Rona had already devised a code. Sophia giving a 5-star review on a board game meant they would meet on the 5th, and the color of the box represented the color of the car. Rona was clever to hide the information, but she didn't anticipate the capture team intercepting her letter. Using a stranger's phone, Rona saw Sophia's review and learned they were to meet at 9 p.m. She was thrilled, thinking her plan was successful, unaware that the capture team already knew everything and was heading to the meeting place to capture her. The headquarters had arranged for former military snipers along with police dogs and drones to track Rona upon arrival. As Rona started feeling uneasy, she headed to the meeting spot, penniless and with no other options. By 9 p.m., Sophia had arrived, and Rona stepped out of the bushes. Due to the darkness and the capture team's haste, they mistook Sophia for Rona. Rona, still some distance away, saw many people and ran. However, in the open area, she couldn't get far without a car and was quickly caught by the capture team becoming the fifth fugitive captured. By now, 5 fugitives had been captured before half the game time had passed, all caught due to overthinking. The brother duo had fled to a public campground in the northwest. Since learning they were being hunted, Madhur became very cautious and strongly discouraged Ayo from calling his brother. By not contacting anyone, they would avoid revealing their location. Ayo, with his contrasting personality, insisted on contacting his brother to have many people call the capture team with false information. Ayo, a confrontational fugitive, wanted to mock the capture team. The two brothers, one conservative and the other aggressive, could not persuade each other, arguing all the way. Ayo even called Madhur a burden. Madhur, frustrated, grabbed his backpack and left, thinking it better to play alone. Thus, the brothers went their separate ways, and Ayo was free to escape on his terms. Soon, he reached a fast food restaurant and received help from a girl named Amanda, resting in her camper van overnight. Tomorrow would be Ayo's daughter's 2nd birthday, and he had never been away from her. Unbeknownst to Ayo, the capture team was also paying close attention to his daughter's birthday. They even bought a toy car and planned to post a photo of it on Twitter. Previously, Ayo had sent pictures to taunt the hunters. Now, it was the hunters' turn. They intended to post the photo with the tag, "absent father." The capture team believed that Ayo would surely respond once he saw it. Indeed, Ayo was very angry that the team was using his daughter. He had already planned to see her, but now his visit was imperative. Next, let's look at the situation with the sister duo, Anna and Eliza. They hitchhiked an average of 5 rides per day and traveled over 2,000 miles, constantly changing locations to shake off pursuers. However, carrying big backpacks made them very noticeable. Soon, many people were calling the capture team. The sisters hitched rides to Windsor Castle, coming from afar to see the Queen's 90th birthday celebration. The 2 girls carrying their luggage stood out in the crowd. On the other hand, Nick was traveling alone on a bicycle. The capture team was stumped with Nick and could only repeatedly search his house and install listening devices, as well as a tracker on his wife's car. Nick's wife had just posted a status update about the anniversary roses Nick had sent her, which was risky and could attract the hunter's attention. The capture personnel questioned Nick's wife and secretly installed spy software on her phone to monitor her communications. Nick had not contacted his wife since the first day of his escape. Now, he was just 5 miles away from home and out of money. He planned to meet his wife at school to get some money. After waiting a long time without seeing her, Nick decided to go home. He thought the capture team had either left or was watching the front door, so he appeared at the back door. He saw his son and asked him to call his mother. Nick's wife left a note advising him not to call or contact her in any way. So far, people around Nick had not made any basic mistakes. By the time the capture team sent someone to watch, it was too late. Nick was not just fleeing. He also had plans to fool the hunters. He borrowed a stranger's phone to call a neighbor, who then called his wife, telling her Nick had lost his tent and sleeping bag and was all wet. They were to meet at the gym at noon the next day. Nick intentionally gave the capture team false information, knowing his wife was under surveillance. The plan's success depended on the hunters finding out. The capture team fell for it and made various arrangements to capture Nick. To make the plan more interesting, Nick even found a decoy. By the time the capture team realized it, they were stunned by capturing the wrong person. On the other side, Ayo sought help from a kind-hearted family, telling them he was headed to London. Before leaving, he took a photo with them to mislead the capture team. Ayo also created several fake wanted posters targeting all the hunters, asking the family to help post them. He managed to distract and counterattack the hunters, then coolly retreated, now confident enough to head home. Before departing, Ayo even made a call to the hunters' headquarters, taunting them for not being able to catch him. Ayo was indeed the most audacious of all fugitives. However, the hunters quickly saw through his clever tricks. The car he was in was registered under the family's name. The license plate recognition system had already captured the vehicle's information heading towards London. Ayo made a major mistake in his arrogance. The capture team spotted the car near Ayo's home, but lost it soon after at a traffic light. Ayo got out of the car on a street and switched to walking. He intended to meet his brother at the square, but failed to find him, and had to hide at a friend's house, hoping to evade capture. While the capture team started a thorough search, Ayo first hid at his friend's house, then had another friend drive him away. The capture team really botched it. They had just seen Ayo's car but let him escape again without catching him. Io did not receive the punishment his arrogance deserved and luckily escaped. Meanwhile, Madur, who had parted ways with Io, was also cautiously fleeing. The sister duo faced no major incidents, thinking little of the capture team. However, the team had already installed a tracker on Anna's mother's car. It showed that the car had been parked near their friend Steven's house for a long time. Using online investigations and a phishing message about a login from a new device, the capture team quickly obtained Steven's account and password. Records showed Steven was a manager at a company located in the Yorkshire Valley, a camping site where the sisters were currently hiding. This was their last chosen escape spot. Fortunately, the sisters used Steven's phone and saw the latest wanted post from the capture team last night, which scared them into continuing their escape. They hitchhiked away before the capture personnel could arrive. Let's see Madur's situation. Madur was heading to his friend Noah's mother's house. After spending the night there, he could not relax and continued to flee, planning to seek help from another friend, Matthew. All of Madur's contacts were under surveillance by the capture team. A call from an unknown number drew the hunter's attention and exposed Madur's approximate location. He was currently at a train station, a place with heavy surveillance. Madur was spotted by the capture team and boarded a train, thinking he could relax. However, the team quickly found out his destination and knew the train's arrival time. The ground team was too far to reach the station on time. They had to rely on surveillance to track Madur's movements after he disembarked. Madur sought a safe place to contact a friend, but the capture team saw his entire route on surveillance. Although Madur later entered an area without cameras, he was still caught by multiple capture teams that arrived soon after. Regretful, Madur realized contacting his friend was a mistake. Meanwhile, his brother Io was still on the run. To get Io's whereabouts, the team planned to interrogate Madur, but it was pointless as they had separated. Despite offering £1,000 for useful information, Madur remained silent, and the deal failed. Io became even more cautious, avoiding contact with anyone, even if it meant starving. Nick was spotted shopping in a store, confirmed by surveillance. He managed to escape by catching a ride just ahead of the hunters, who were always one step behind. Along the way, many kind people helped him. The sister duo had a narrow escape, helped by a truck driver who let them stay with his daughter. They planned to move by taxi the next day but were photographed at departure. Staying overnight was a mistake as locals noticed them. Using the license plate recognition system, the capture team found the taxi company and the sisters' drop-off location. Like with Madur, they used surveillance to narrow the search area and drones to locate the sisters. The sisters were lucky to find another car with a willing driver who sped away when approached by capture personnel. Eventually, they had to get out to switch cars but found no further help. Without a car, they couldn't escape and were caught after days on the run, leading to their elimination. Now only 2 contestants remain, Nick and Io. 5 days ago, they were asked to meet at a transit station where they received precise information for their final escape. With just 48 hours left in the final sprint, the endpoint is a small dock where Io found help from his friend Haley. Haley and her boyfriend decided to assist Io. This clever couple helped Io while simultaneously calling the hunter headquarters. They wanted to earn the £500 reward without betraying their friend, but forgot that phones can be tracked. Io quickly got out of the car and fled. He then called the most trustworthy person he knew, Kevin, who was unknown to the capture team, making the call unmonitored. On day 27, Io escaped again. Despite the capture team's eagerness to apprehend him, they missed their chance. Nick and Io made it to the dock and successfully escaped by boat. Let's congratulate Nick and Io on winning this season's prize.